What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Dripping Creativity Podcast. I am your host, Chris Corvan, and today we have a very special guest, D.W. Brooks. Dee's journey is remarkable as her writing. From becoming a doctor and medical editor to overcoming major health issues and then stepping back into the world of writing, her path is nothing short of inspirational. We're going to be diving into the latest works, Dating Chaos, and her advocacy for organ donation. Dee, it is an honor to have you on the show.
And it is an honor to be here. Thank you so very much. And I'm looking forward to it.
It's going to be so much fun. So let's kind of take a step back and go right back to when you were younger there. You were in medicine and then you weren't, you switched out. What kind of was the journey going from writing to medicine to writing?
When I was 8 years old, my cousins and I got together. We wanted to write kids' mystery books that had more people of color in them, looked more like us, like Nancy Drew with Black people. And like I said, we were 8. So we did some things that were good. We actually sat down, and I guess now you would call it a story Bible. We kind of went through and looked at all of our, made up our characters, kind of basically made a tree. Like, okay, these characters get along with these people, they don't get along with these people. They hang out. I mean, we did all of that. I don't know why. We had no idea what we were doing. And one of my cousins is an artist, so she drew pictures. So we actually have pictures of what all of our characters look like. The only thing we really weren't good at was the writing. So we would get like a chapter or two, come to some great scene and have no idea where to go. So we figured, okay, let's start another one. So we ended up with a whole lot of little half-done books with pictures in them and one good chapter of cool fighting with each other or trying to figure out a mystery or what have you. But we had nowhere to go from there. And since we were 8, it didn't take long for us to kind of figure out that there was something else that we could be doing, like playing or something or other. So I moved on to wanting to become a doctor. And that was because of my uncle, who's a doctor. So I spent my high school years in college years aiming to go to medical school. I went, I got the residency I wanted. I'm an ophthalmologist by training. But probably halfway through, I kind of realized that wasn't what I was going to do for the long haul. And I even had some classmates who kind of were laying odds on how long I would actually be in practice. So I went to get my MBA, and I was looking to do some hospital administration or something to that effect, but that just didn't pan out. And WebMD had just started when I graduated from business school, and by some lucky coincidences of people I knew who connected me to other people, I ended up working at WebMD for a few years when it first started. So it's partly my fault that people are, looking on the internet for all their health issues. We were the ones putting it out there for the people to find. And so I became a medical editor, basically working on education for doctors, nurses, and pharmacists. And at some point, early 2010s, my kidneys started to give out. I kind of knew that was coming. My family has a genetic kidney disorder, and my mother had a kidney transplant. My aunt is just kind of one half of my family has kidney transplants. So I kind of knew it was coming. And my husband and I decided that we weren't going to just wait on the transplant list. We decided to try to look for a donor, a living donor. I don't have any siblings, so there was really nobody I could ask since, like I said, most of my family has the same condition. So there were no extra kidneys around. And we went to Facebook and started a Facebook group. I posted articles about how you could become a kidney donor and what that means and things like that. My medical editor life came back into play there, so I could actually use that. And we got a lot of people who said they were interested, and we actually found a woman who I was a match to in Louisiana. And it took about a year to get all the stuff done because she wasn't here. And she didn't live in the same area, so she would have to come up and travel, et cetera, and so on. And so I had actually had my transplant in 2017. So, I feel really lucky because I know people who ended up on dialysis a lot longer than I was. But after I had my transplant, I was supposed to be recuperating and things, but my mother passed away and my dad came to live with us. And I had already started writing my first novel, Homecoming Chaos. And I think I was done with the first draft by then. But then my dad came to live with us and he had some health issues. So I put most of that to the side and helped take care of him. And then after he passed away, I said, all right, I need to get this book out. I don't know if anybody ever want to read it, but I am going to publish it myself. I never actually queried or looked for anybody. I realized I started writing kind of late and I didn't want to have to have to spend the time to look for an agent or anything like that. I just didn't feel like I had that kind of time to do that. So Homecoming Chaos, and then I wrote a prequel, I Do Chaos, and now I have Dating Chaos, and I'm working on book 4 now.
That is one hell of a journey, all the way from the age of 8. I think kind of sticking with the creative side of this. Have you noticed, or do you think there has been any influence from your experience as a doctor into your storytelling and how you're crafting stories and all of that?
My lead character is roughly based on me. She's a doctor as well. She's a doctor who's actually not practicing this minute, although in future stories, she may go back to practice at some point. Because when I originally created her, I wanted to actually go through my journey, as in I went to med school, and when I said I was going to go and do something else, my family was confused. They're like, wait, we don't understand. You kind of got to the top of the mountain. What are you trying to do? You're trying to slide back down. We don't understand. And I wanted to write her story from that standpoint. But then I thought about it and I said, well, I could actually write several stories about her and have that kind of be a little bit of her background. In my stories, her family's not really on her about it, but they are a little curious as to why she's not practicing right now. I mean, they wanted to figure out what she's going to do with herself, basically. So, I think it does. I mean, I also have another story that I've kind of been kicking around about 2 doctors. It's a romance about 2 doctors. So I kind of think every character I write will probably, at least one of them will be a doctor.
You know what? If you know it, you write it. It makes sense. Like you know the entire process behind becoming a doctor and the time investment and the schooling and all of that. So to be able to incorporate that, especially for people that don't quite understand how difficult it is, even for ophthalmology is just it's insane. It is absolutely insane. I was the PR marketer for an ophthalmologist here for about 2 years. So I learned a lot about ophthalmology without having to go to school. And I could tell you, number one, it's gross. It's gross. There is some gross shit in there, okay? I'm just saying. Anyways, that was a side tangent. Sorry.
I get it.
So sticking with chaos here, so this is the 3rd part in your series. Do you have kind of an outline of how many you're planning in this series, or are you just kind of going with whatever feels right?
I thought I did have an outline, but because I'm one of those plantsters, not pantsters, where I write like a really basic outline about what I want to have happen in the story, and then I write. And so I don't necessarily plan each scene as they go. Sometimes I'll be doing something else. I'm like, this needs to be a scene. So then I'll write that just all out of order. But I don't really plot out each scene as it goes. I do have a lot of epiphanies while I'm, driving down the street. Oh, that's what I need to do. So I had a list of like seven. It was kind of like a romance, just broken up in pieces with some mystery or something for them to investigate in each one. But it's romance and mystery, romance, suspense. I had like 7 stories, but I have had people say, well, I really would like to hear what's happening with her brother, or I'd like to hear what's happening. I like a story about her sister. So I actually have another work in progress about her brother, John, because his big storyline throughout the 3 has been he is unable to select suitable partners. He always selects women with drama, too young women. I mean, they're legal, but they're too young for where he is in life. And it generally ends up in chaos. So I have a work in progress also looking at him trying to find. So it's kind of gotten bigger. I do want to write other stories that have nothing at all to do with them, hence the love story between the 2 doctors. But then now I kind of wish that I hadn't stopped when I was younger, or had continued, because there are lots of stories I would love to tell, and I just don't know how much I can get done in the time I have going on. So.
Yeah, no, I completely get that as somebody that, basically stepped away from creative shit for 19 years while they raised my son. I get it.
Mm-hmm.
So sticking with the Chaos series here, because that's a fantastic name for a series. I love that. I love the concept of the world is so real to you that you're seeing all these additional stories you can tell, and it's kind of like, oh yeah, well, we should do this one, and it makes sense. And I love that sort of world building, as like it started here and then it's like, oh, it's just constantly getting bigger and bigger. So what kind of sparked the overall idea behind the series?
Well, like I said, I had created her just as a person. I mean, as somebody to write the story. And when I started writing it, I kind of said, well, I think that she might be interested in this detective. Then I could kind of turn this into a romantic story as well. I don't necessarily have to, because most of my stories are fairly compressed in time, taking place up until the one I'm writing right now. They generally take place in 5 or fewer days. So there's not a lot of room for a whole lot of extra stuff, a lot of spice or anything like that, at least in the beginning, because they had met each other 5 days. They're investigating a murder. In my head, I was thinking, well, they really don't have a lot of time to go run off to a bedroom. They have other things they're trying to do. They're trying to stay alive. They just aren't. That's just not how I saw the story going. But since I do want them to develop a relationship, and at some point maybe they'll get married. So I just kind of wanted to cut it up in little pieces. And like I said, things just keep coming to me. And, ideally, in the ideal world, I would have another story about her sister. I would like to have a story about them sitting down, like a real romance, sitting down and deciding if this is actually what they want. Just a little novelette, just a novella, just saying, okay, we're going on a vacation and we're going to talk this out and figure out if this is actually what we want to do. And, if they ever get engaged, of course, that's going to be dramatic because her mother's going to be all involved and his family will have to show up, which, I figure since he has like 5 siblings and a mother and a father, there's going to be a lot of drama there. And if they get married, just madness. And of course, there has to be something odd or untoward that is happening in the background that they'll have to figure out. So, I think it's fun. A little creepy sometimes, but it's easy to figure out something messy to kind of throw in there to just kind of make things more complicated for everybody.
Definitely. And I think that whole concept of they've only known each other for 5 days, it's one of the key things that I learned from screenplay writing and all that was looking at a scene going, why is this the most interesting moment of their life up until this point? And
Yes.
if it's not the most interesting point, you don't need it. Right?
Yeah.
Like that type of, this is so interesting, it needs to be in a book. The rest of the stuff, it's fine. It'll get there.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
and jumping around like that, I love that. It's so good. So can you talk to me kind of about the emotional core of in Dating Chaos specifically here, since you just released that in August? What kind of are the key themes you're going to explore in it?
There's always, I think so far in all the books, history coming back has been a theme in each of the books. So in Dating Chaos, there's several things from the past that came back and caused drama or caused issues for her, for her mother, for her brother. So that was one key thing. And two was just the challenge of dating. I kind of stretched it a little bit. It was Jamie and Nick's first date, so there's drama there. And Brother John was trying to date somebody, but an old girlfriend is creating drama there. So dating chaos for both of those. And then I stretched it a little bit because a family member from the past that her mother hadn't talked to in almost 20 years, showed up. So I thought of it like, it's not a romantic date, but it's a date. It's a family member that you haven't seen that's come to see you, basically creating a social date. And it's chaotic as well. So those were the main themes of the story.
Excellent. How do you kind of manage, and we're going to talk here more about your process and your writing style here, but how do you kind of manage the balance between, being a doctor, a mother, a writer? What does a typical writing day look like for you?
Well, I'm not currently practicing right now, so that's one thing off the list. But my days usually look very chaotic as well, because my daughter has Down syndrome. So she's 19 now, but we still have to take her to school and do therapies, and she's learning how to get ready to look for a job. So we have those things to deal with in all of her doctor's appointments and things like that. And then I still have to go to the doctor and things like that for myself. And there's just always little things being thrown in. So you schedule like, okay, today I am going to write from 9 to 1 or something. And it never happens like that. So I've become very, very good at just kind of going with the flow. Like, all right, I have a couple hours. I'm just gonna write. I know I'm going to get interrupted at some point, but here it is. So, I have a calendar, I have a plan. It never goes that way.
Especially as a parent, I completely get that. Never happens. Yeah, scheduling anything is just... Yeah,
you just kind of say, all right, I'll just grab it when I can. I'll take my tablet with me and, start jotting down notes if I'm sitting at the doctor's office with nothing specific to do, waiting for them to call me back or something. Or, if you're sitting outside of the school waiting to pick them up, just start typing stuff in. So, it's working. So far it's working fine. And then of course, around 3:00, everybody starts looking for dinner. Like, what? I don't understand. I buy food that y'all can eat. It's out. They're like, no, we want you to cook.
It was one of those specific things where my son got himself a job in the restaurant industry. He's a cook right now. So it was like, all right, dude, you know how to cook now. You've been doing it for almost a year. You're not going back to school yet. So guess what? You can make your own damn food. All right. Flat out. I'll buy you anything you want. You're good. Just make it.
Yeah. No, my son said, my son's 22. He just graduated from college. And he said, look, I was making my own food while I was in college. I'm home now. I'd like my mom to make me some food. And it's like, okay.
Here's some noodles and some mac and cheese. Have at it.
Yeah, but he's not. But he's very picky. He's not eating that.
One of those. Yeah. My daughter's kind of picky like that. I get it. Okay. So anyway, sidetracking again. Something you had said kind of at the top there about being and wanting to see more, kind of detective stories and all that, specifically around more characters in your race and all of that. How important is that to you now? Like, is it extremely important to really vocalize and make sure that is represented in everything you do?
Which part? The part
with black characters, black main characters, and all
that actually is. And ironic because her love interest in this series is white, so it's not that I'm rigid on it or anything like that. But I do like being able to have stories that have African American characters, that the story is not super heavy. It's not, these people are fairly well off. I mean, they're wealthy people. They're just full of drama. They have lots of other issues, but the story itself is not that what's going on with them is not because of where they came from or what have you. It could happen to anybody. I mean, really, it can't, but it could happen to anybody. The characters could be, with some adjustments, could be anybody. It just happens that they're African American. Obviously there are things that indicate that they are African American, but it's just a story. Like a lot of stories that we read, they're just things that are happening to people. It's not because they're white or black or Indian. It's just a story, and that just happened. The characters happen to be African American. So that to me is important. I think there just needs to be more representation from the entire spectrum. Deep and heavy and serious stories and stories that are not. I've always said that I want my books to be almost like airport books. And you go to the airport, you grab a book to read, you read it, you're like, "Ooh, that was great." And then you say, "Okay, I'm going on to wherever I go." I don't necessarily need you to sit there and ponder all the deep missives in my story, because that's not what I was aiming for. I'm aiming for you to enjoy and then remember me. So when you see me again, or you hear that there's another book, you'll go back and read and say, "Yeah, that was fun. I can do that again."
I dig that concept of it being able to happen to anyone. I'm very much in that same boat. I think for me, when I'm crafting specific stories, especially when I have a main character that is a Native American and all that, the biggest issue I have is natural biases amongst readers, where it's just it's ingrained in our brains that all characters are white. It doesn't matter. So it's finding those specific moments to reintroduce the concept of somebody being another race without it feeling like you are shoving it down people's throats.
Right.
To me, that's kind of the biggest hurdle that I've encountered there. Is that something that you actively think about, or just it's mentioned at the start and never again?
Well, so far it's been mentioned at the start, but like I said, everything. I mean, the first book is a prequel. The second two books actually encompass her and Nick. And in all honesty, the first book takes place in 5 days, and the second book takes place 2 weeks after the first book ends. So these two books take place over a 3-week period. So I've actually thought about that. I haven't really brought it up because they just met, and they've had other things going on. So they haven't really had any, there's not been a whole lot of issues where that could be brought up per se. They're trying to figure out who killed somebody. Yeah, and there's danger, and they're trying to make sure they're not next on the list. Not really talking about the nuances of race right then, but I do want there to be some discussion of that, especially since she's looking at a relationship with a white man. She has to bring it up. It's going to have to bring up at some point. But, since they've only been going out for 3 weeks, they're in the flush of love. They're not really thinking about anything like that long term. But that's going to start being brought up. Not heavy, but actually being mentioned and something for them to think about.
Yeah, no, I firmly think that it's not something that needs to be a major plot point at all.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's nice to have the representation, thrown up in there. I like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, so we are. Sorry about that. Just clearing my throat here. Try not to get it right on the microphone. We are closing in on half an hour, so we are going to go into the final segment here, which is actually about organ donation and advocacy. So, as you told your tale and all that, a very strong enforcer for organ donation, which kind of makes sense,
Yeah.
Is there anything for people who don't actually know much about organ donation that you can kind of give them to go, hey, it's not as scary as it sounds?
Well, I think the first thing would be to put it on your driver's license, that you're willing to be an organ donor after you die. That helps immensely. And if you put it on your driver's license, you also need to chat with your family, because when I was practicing, we had that happen. Multiple times. People put it on their driver's license and then something happens to them and their family is like, what? No. And you're like, but they have it on their license. This is what they want. And the family's heartbroken, horrified, and it ends up not happening, or they agree reluctantly, but they don't understand why. So, if you put on your driver's license, please talk to your family so they'll be aware, and you can discuss the biases, pro and con. Because I actually would love it if they would set it up to be an opt-out system as opposed to an opt-in, but they haven't gotten there yet.
And just for the record, I am a firm believer of take every part of me that is good and use it. And just burn the rest. You're fine there.
Yeah. Well, that's basically gonna be me too.
Send me off to the freaking schools. I don't care. It's fine. No, we're good.
I'm going to be scattered in Hawaii somewhere.
That's a solid. You know what? That's a solid. I want the Rocky Mountains. I'm pretty sure it's illegal to do because it's a national provincial park. But I still say do it. Find a way. My family's good with that shit.
Yeah, that's what I tell my husband. Just figure out how to do it, not obviously. But, ooh, what was that?
Are there any organizations or causes related to organ donation that you'd like to promote or send people to?
Organdonor.gov is one. They give you information about organ donation. You can actually go in there and go on the website, and they give you some of the processes, how you become an organ donor, and what different parts they could actually use. They just kind of give you the whole thing. They also have other resources there, like more local resources. So, you can get the national thing, but they have different organizations, different branches of the organization in different areas, and you can get more information there. Because, there's some things that you can donate while you're, living donor, bone marrow, kidney, part of your liver. There are ways that you can get on a registry just in case at some point. And then there is Donate Life America, which has a lot of the same information. They also have social media information that you can put up on your website. But there's different groups on Facebook. Like I said, that's how I found my donor. It's not as easy as it used to be. It was never easy, but it's not as easy. There used to be a whole lot more people looking for organs on social media. Because I still have my group, my Get a Kidney for Nikki Brooks. That was my organization. I still have it open, and I tell people, if you want me to blast it to the people who still follow me, I'll be glad to do that. But it's just not as many people doing it as they used to. So,
well, the fact that you are even out there doing it is amazing. I absolutely love that. All right, we are going to jump into the rapid fire questions now. So prepare yourself. Take a drink. Never ends up being rapid fire. so it's okay. Don't worry about it too much.
Oh, good. As you know.
I just like putting that immediate stress on people,
Yeah, like I said, I'm old now. So.
All right, number 1, starting out with a bang here. Describe dating chaos in 3 words.
Chaotic, sexy, history.
Yeah, solid. Those are good. That just solid words to go with there to sell it. I dig it. Favorite place to write?
Favorite? The beach. Any beach. I don't care.
What is the best advice you've ever received, be it for medical, life, writing, whatever?
The best advice probably from my father, and just told me to do what I want and don't worry about other people, and that he would back me no matter what.
Love it. It's good fatherly advice. I dig that. What is your go-to song when you need a mood boost?
Ooh, wow. Probably anything by Prince.
Good choice. Big fan. Coffee, tea, or something stronger?
Tea.
Yeah,
tea.
All right, that's fine.
Well, I can't drink. Well, I'm not supposed to drink anything stronger.
Makes sense.
Because of my medicines. And coffee, ironically, I don't like the taste of coffee, but I love the smell. So I used to buy coffee, and I have a coffee maker, and I would just make coffee every morning and dump it down the sink so I could smell it.
No, the wasted coffee. Oh, it hurts my heart. It hurts my heart.
But I love the way it smells.
It is. It's a comfort smell for sure. It's definitely kind of one of those things that triggers good memories. Most surprising thing about being a doctor?
Surprising thing about being a doctor is that, well, what's surprising? I mean, I knew it was hard, but how hard it actually was, at least getting through medical school. You think it's going to be hard because obviously it's medicine. It was hard. I mean, it just, especially since to get into medical school, obviously you had to be you had to be somebody who did well before. So you really didn't hit the wall in college. It's like, I'm making A's, whatever. And then you get to medical school and it's just like, maybe that was a lie. Maybe I'm not really that smart. What's happening here? So that was the shocking thing, because I had never been not one of the smartest people in the room. And suddenly I was a smart person, but not the smartest in the room.
The difference in pool sizes for a fish. Whereas you start over there, you're the big fish. It's perfectly fine. And then suddenly you're like, this is an ocean. This is weird. I get that. Yeah, I get that.
That's a good way to talk about it. That was, yeah.
What is your guilty pleasure? Be it TV, music, movies, whatever.
Ooh. Right now, my guilty pleasure is watching British shows.
They're awesome. Which ones? Which ones are you watching?
Oh, I love Midsummer Murder, Death in Paradise. I sat there and watched Line of Duty. Was it McCormick and somebody? All of them. I have a subscription to BritBox.
Oh, you got the BritBox. You know what? Hey, they've got some good stuff on there.
Yeah, I have some other ones that I need to go, because they, when they bring up a new mystery, or you're like, I need to watch that one. I mean, if I was willing, I would have one to Acorn as well, because there are some shows that are on Acorn that, they've split. Never the twain will meet, and it's like, come on, I would like to watch both of them.
They'll make me pay for two. See, what's funny about all these subscription things is it's going to just become exactly what cable was.
Yeah,
you're gonna pay thing. You're gonna have whatever channels you want, but that's exactly what cable was.
I'm already in there. I have the big one that had Hulu, and then I have almost like 5 or 6 of the separate ones And it's great when you want, if you don't watch the FBI show and want to go back and watch it without commercials. But I sit there and think about it like, really, would have just been better if I had stayed on DirecTV.
Well, and yeah, that's the whole thing. It's like it's starting to not make sense now with the amount of streaming services out there. It's just like, a lot of the times I'll subscribe for a couple months until I'm done watching my show, and then I'll cancel it.
Yeah,
because I don't want to get invested in a whole bunch of those shows because I still got all these other shows that I love. So it's like, I'll just constantly rotate them out. It's fine. Save myself 12 months here and there. All right. Anyways, before we get way up on that one there, if you could time travel, would you visit the past or the future?
The future. Yeah, a lot of not good things that were going on for my people in the past. I don't want to wander into that.
You could have gone back like 10 years. That would have been okay. I'm just saying.
That's not really time travel. That's just a memory.
It doesn't mean you have to time travel, to this exact location. You can time travel anywhere else. There's lots of other cool things happen in other places.
That is true. But I would like to see what's going to happen in the future. At least I think I would. Maybe I'll regret it. Maybe I'll regret it when I get there. Like,
do really want to know? I don't know. Yeah. It depends what happens in the U.S.
Yeah. It could just be Skynet. So
there's so many ways the world can end. Every day adds a new one.
I know.
Well, that was depressing. All right.
Yeah. Let's think of something chipper. We can't end that way.
See, the problem is I'm a big thriller suspense dude, so that's kind of where my mind goes all the time. That's horror related things. So
that's what I read. Although I read a lot of James Patterson and whoever he's writing with at the particular moment, because I started with Alex Cross, and I'm behind now.
You gotta go with Alex Cross. That was just some of the best. Actually, this is the final question before the final question. The penultimate question. Who is your Rushmore top 4 for writers?
Okay. Alexander Dumas. I love that. And strangely enough, Charles Dickens. I know a lot of people hate his stuff, but I always say once you get past the first 100 pages, it's great. And Flannery O'Connor. And number four. I have to give, this is my current person, Janet Ivanovich, the Stephanie Plum books. I love them. I know they're fluffy and light. In my head, I like to think that I am following in that footsteps a little bit because I love reading them. They're not particularly heavy. There's some romance, there's some mystery, and there's some jokes.
And that's all you need sometimes. This is one of those things that just a lot of writers need to understand. Sometimes it's okay to just go with that surface stuff. It's perfectly fine. It's amazing. Yeah. You need it. It's a good decompressor.
Yeah.
It's great. I love it. All right. And then the final, most important, unbelievably difficult question I'm going to ask you there. Where can people find you and your work?
Okay, I have a website. It's authordwbrooks.com. You can actually purchase autographed copies of my books. I even have a bundle where you can get all 3 of them for a discounted price. I sign them, I wrap them up, and I send little stickers and things like that along with them. I also am on Instagram and Threads with the same authordwbrooks.com and Facebook. Same thing, authordwbrooks.com. I found it on everywhere except for TikTok. But in TikTok, it's just d.w.brooks. So I am all about.
You know what? You keep the branding the same. I say this all the time, man. But I'll change a name if I can't get it everywhere. It's just my thing. Yeah. All right, Dee, it has been an absolute pleasure to have you on the show.
This was good. This was a lot of fun. Thank you very much.
Definitely. Your resilience, passion, and advocacy for organ donation are truly inspiring. To everyone listening and watching, don't forget to check out Dee's latest novel, Dating Chaos, and consider the impact of organ donation. It can truly change lives. You can find DW everywhere, as we just discussed right there. Thank you all for tuning in for the Dripping Creativity podcast. If you enjoy the show, don't forget to like, subscribe, and consider joining the Patreon for the exclusive content and behind-the-scenes chat like we're going to have here in a second that all of you are going to miss out because you're not part of the cafe or a member of the Patreon. Now we're going to head off right there. DW, all I need you to do is just say goodbye to everyone.
Bye-bye. Have a great day.
And my name is Chris Corvan. You can find me everywhere at Chris of the Void. This has been the Dripping Creativity Podcast, part of the Creative Coffee Cafe community. And until next time, stay creative and stay inspired. Bye.